How many times have you told yourself that you're going to change, but then you keep falling back into the old patterns and habits? Today, we're going to talk about why this happens and how you can finally break free, not by forcing, not by willpower, but this is by addressing the root of the issue. And this comes back to how our brain works and our nervous system and how our emotions work, right? So the brain is a reward seeking system. So it's often trying to avoid discomfort. We're seeking comfort, right? It's how we were programmed to survive. And also, based on how we were raised in our early childhood, we develop certain coping mechanisms and certain core beliefs. So, when you think about breaking the habit of doom scrolling online or binge eating or binge watching, what's actually happening inside is seeking of comfort. So at the end of the day, how can we better handle discomfort within ourselves and really get in touch with ourselves and be able to satisfy our needs internally? There is a habit loop. So a lot of behavior change theories look at the habit loop, starting with a cue, which could be an internal feeling, like you're feeling stress from work or something that you have to do. Then is the craving. Okay, so the craving is, okay, I want to seek something to deal with the stress. Or the cue can also be something like, oh, I see a brownie and maybe I want to eat it. So then there's a craving. So the craving is either a desire or an aversion. The response is, how are we going to react to this? What are we going to do? Are we going to seek the quick dopamine hit and scroll on social media? Right? Or are we going to take time to pause and breathe? And then finally, the reward. Either way, the reward is going to be a quick spike of dopamine or a more gradual release of dopamine and self-assuredness. So, really, at the core is, how do we shift things from a deeper level? There's a wonderful quote by Carl Rogers, and he is known as one of the original developers of like modern psychology and behavior change. He says, the curious paradox of change is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. Really listen to that. The curious paradox of change is when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. So a lot of this inner work really comes back down to, how do we feel okay within ourselves? Once we really start to accept ourselves, feel okay with ourselves as we are, a lot of the habits that are around procrastination, seeking short-term pleasures, around dissociating, right, or seeking approval, right? So instead of putting aside the work that you know you need to do or the things that you know you need to do, right? Instead, you're going to operate from a place of peace, of inner peace and inner gratitude. And you're not constantly seeking outside yourself, right? Or let's say you have this goal of running a half marathon. If you're coming from a place of pure acceptance and okayness, then the energy from which you're approaching that new goal that you have is going to be very grounded and very centered and self-assured versus really forcing and trying to get something because you're trying to feel a certain way that might happen when you get to that point. But oftentimes that feeling is not going to come inside from external achievement. It's going to come from inside. Really, really important. And there's so many experts around the psychology and behavior change and the inner work who talk about this concept. It is a letting go. It is a self-acceptance. It is being okay with what is. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says, true behavior change is identity change. Yes, there are all these laws to behavior change and how you can improve the tactics and the tools and strategies. And maybe this is what you were coming for. And we can talk about that, maybe on a different video. But if the true behavior change is identity change, it's what do we believe about ourselves? What mindset are we operating from? Because you can start your goal, you can start working towards your goal, but inevitably the habit slips. or the unwanted habits creep in. So it's really taking a look at what are these deeper mindsets, what are these deeper beliefs that we're telling ourselves around our worthiness, perhaps, or around our capacity of what we can do and what we can achieve. And to become aware of the beliefs, a lot we might not be aware of because they're subconscious, but to become aware of these beliefs, we have to start paying more attention to the thoughts that come into our awareness throughout the day. There's thousands and thousands of thoughts that come into our mind throughout the day. So, how can we bring awareness to them and see, are these coming from a place of lack? Are these thoughts coming from a place of fear, worrying about the future? Or I'm going to procrastinate on this thing. I'm going to do something else because I'm really worried how it might look or how it might do. We become aware through practice of mindfulness, of just paying attention to the thoughts. And when the moment comes, you're about to reach for the cookie or you're about to reach for your phone. You're about to reach for your phone and just pause. Am I distracting myself? Am I distracting myself from feeling uncomfortable? It's possible. It's very possible. So close your eyes, like really put a hand on your heart, take a deep, deep, deep breath. Say, what am I actually really feeling? What is true, right? Because we have been programmed for a lot of our lives, right? To do and to not really listen and feel what we're feeling. So a big part of this is the awareness of noticing what we feel, not being afraid to feel the discomfort or the pain, because once we actually look at it, see it for what it is, and we breathe through it, we're actually giving that part of us the attention that it wants and it craves. Maybe just there's this part of us, that fear within us wants to feel more safe or more secure. So you breathe and just state that to yourself. I'm grounded. I'm safe. I'm secure. And so this is the reprogramming that's happening in the subconscious. It's tending to the emotions. We're helping to regulate the nervous system. So a breathing tool that you can use is just simple deep belly breathing and really extend the exhale. So you breathe into the belly for 3-4 seconds and exhale through the mouth for up to 8 seconds, really exhaling. And notice, even doing a few of those cycles of breath, you're going to shift the nervous system. And you may have even forgotten about why you were grabbing your phone in the first place, because you just wanted to avoid a feeling. Okay. So this is a huge, huge part of the work. Yeah, there's definitely deeper foundational work around shifting the patterns of the belief systems and getting into it, whether doing the interpersonal work, therapy, parts work. But simply start by becoming more aware of your thoughts. Become aware of when those cravings pop up and what's underlying that. What is happening? Are you trying to do too much? Are you trying to procrastinate? Are you running away from something? Are you trying to dissociate, right? And not feel? And you'll start to notice, right? Every time you are reaching for the food or the TV or the phone or to smoke or whatever it is, you're just learning to get more and more in touch with yourself. And then on the flip side of things, for the new habits that you want to create, the new things that you're reaching towards, can you come at those goals, those new habits from a place of I'm I'm already good enough. Like I already feel the gratitude and I already feel good inside, right? Let's say you want to lose weight. You've tried so many times, you've lost weight, you put it back on, you go through this cycle, right? Because there's something deeper. There's something deeper that hasn't shifted within. And oftentimes it is an acceptance. It's this self-acceptance that I was mentioning earlier. It is feeling good about yourself. And there's an incredible quote that I would love to share from young Pueblo. Comes from his book Inward, and he talks about this acceptance. Working towards our goal And simultaneously letting it go may seem paradoxical, but it is the fastest way to achieve what we want. Letting go is not giving up. It is the graceful walk between continuing to put effort into making our preferred reality come true and not letting our happiness be controlled by something we don't have. If we remain attached, we tend to feel agitation or even misery. This creates tension in our being that blocks us from fulfilling our desires. Sometimes we may still get what we want, but we may be less capable of keeping what we want if we never address the root of our tension, which is our inability to appreciate what we already had to begin with. What do we get when we let go of the past and the future? Inner peace. Realizing peace within ourselves, no matter our external circumstance, is a high form of freedom that allows blessings, miracles, and success to flow into our lives. Happiness and gratitude are attractive forces. Their lack of wanting is what clears the road so that new things may come with greater ease. And likely what we're really wanting is just greater ease in living the life that we want. So we do the inner work to accept where we are at, to have gratitude for ourselves, to have acceptance for ourselves, to have love for ourselves, to forgive ourselves. And then we're okay. We are okay regardless of the outcome. Then you'll notice the ability to do more of the things that are nourishing become easier, to stay away from the things that are unwanted, that are self-destructive, self-sabotaging. It becomes easier to stay away from those things. And we're finding more of a flow in our lives. There's a sense of mindfulness. There's a sense of presence and peace. So I encourage you on your journey to look more within, to develop that sense of peace within, to start looking at the roots, to address the roots of the unwanted habits and patterns, and notice that your life starts to change.